Hello everyone and welcome back aboard the night train. Before we get going with today's video, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's checked out my most recent video that has done some absolutely crazy numbers compared to what I see on the channel. Your enthusiasm and love for that kind of video has definitely been noticed, so I'm going to be planning more videos in that vein for release in the future. I'm going to be doing some more sort of top 10 pieces and opinion videos on my thoughts about Thomas and Friends, the Railway series, everything that really sort of kicked my channel off, so make sure you are subscribed and stick around for that, as there is going to be much more coming your way. As well as that, I've got my Rail 200 baseboard down here that I need to get finished pronto. So time is ticking, I don't have much left, but I've got lots to do. So if you want to see what I'm doing for that, make sure you stick around as well. Today's video though is one that's been requested by some of you. So yep, I am listening. You asked for an update on the layout, because I've been working on bits here and there that I've not necessarily shown off. So that is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be going over the entire layout behind me. I've got not just the buildings in that out to play, I've really gotten a lot of stuff out that I've had in storage for a long time but not yet been able to put on the board. So vehicles, figures, custom wagons, and I've really gone to town with the fun factor. If you're expecting a really prototypical realistic railway, click away now, because I just let the crazy run the show pretty much. Everything on here, from different franchises to pop culture references to just whatever the hell I felt like doing, to be honest. So I'll say no more and just show off everything that's on the boards now. So enjoy. I'm going to have some trains going round while I go through the layout, and on the main standard gauge circuit I've gone with my recently renumbered Southern S15, which is now the preserved example from the Watercress line. On the narrow gauge line we have my ever reliable Prince, pulling a small box van train, with a cheeky little cameo hidden inside the one with the open doors. Starting off with one of the oldest portions, we have the Farmyard, and not much has changed since I originally posted my modelling videos for this on the channel. The only things there are is a couple of change outs of vehicles. We've got a very familiar green steamroller there now, and there's also a cheeky goat in one of the tractor trailers, who you may recognise from a certain Blue Train franchise, but other than that I've not really done anything to change this from when I did my initial series covering it. There has, however, been a few changes around the narrow gauge platform. My Thomas and Friends Class 08 diesels, so Diesel, Paxton, Splatter and Dodge, even Bill and Ben, were catching on the overhang of the platform because of the wide footplates or wide coupling rods that are much worse than my other engines for some reason. So I've had to cut off the entire overhang of the platform, and I'm going to have to tidy up the mess that I made doing that, but a fresh coat of paint should hopefully do the job. On the whole though, the narrow gauge yard is looking far more lively now with all the detail and engines and wagons. We've got the Talaclin locomotive out as well, not that it really runs the best on this layout, and also my 4D Superior Mastery class, which again doesn't run the best on these tight curves, but it's a nice looking model. And next to that I've got some of my new 3D printed Talaclin coal wagons and flatbeds. Those are a little bit temperamental, but they look the part at least, and all of this helps keep the narrow gauge line busy and interesting. The underwater corner also hasn't seen much change at all. All I've really done again is swap figures out, and it's made for some very fun cameos. So Thunderbird 4 is still under the water, along with a Leopleurodon. People of a certain age are going to love that word. But yeah, I'm having more fun with it. So there is a Spinosaurus now attacking the barge, and someone taking some very poorly judged shelter there, it seems. He's definitely going to get eaten. And you know, because I'm a funny person, there is also a seal who's decided to chill on the other end, and he is obviously completely oblivious to the mortal danger he's in. I've covered the haunted house again in my most recent model series, so I'll only briefly show it off here, but a few additions are, there is now a Grim Reaper right on top of the roof, the tiny bit of the roof at least, watching over everything else going on the layout. Probably wonder who's going to die next. Yeah, things can get a little bit morbid on this channel when I'm allowed to ad-lib like this. And yep, there's another Spinosaurus just sulking in the shadows right behind, so yeah, can put 2 and 2 together and say those are probably connected. Behind the narrow gauge yard, I've got my forest that is slowly growing. There are 3 trees now, as well as a green ogre. But yeah, I'm going to get a ton more trees, really flesh this out, do some undergrowth detail as well with laser cut ferns and things. But trees are expensive. I want real varieties of different kinds of trees because I'm a biology nerd like that, and those are expensive and take time to either make or collect, so the forest will be done, it's just still on the back burner at the moment. Sneaking round closer to the front of the layout, and we have my recently completed, well externally at least, pub, free house, place where people buy alcoholic drinks. Yeah, one of those. I need to do the interior on this because it is quite easy just to see all the way through it with all those windows. But I'm going to model a proper pub garden by the railway behind it as well. I've got all the bits for that, I just need the time and space to put it all together. And in the meantime, I've got another tree being held up by an absolutely massive Patago Titan and a tinier giant ground sloth. Tiny giant ground sloth, that's a bit of an oxymoron for you. But yeah, plenty going on in this corner and plenty more to do. I briefly did a video covering the sidings that are meant to be for loco storage and maintenance. Not much has changed here, it's still got the buffers and a couple of scrap and coal staves and things like that, but it is great for posing different engines in, like my GWR 56XX here, and my slightly detailed and uplifted classic Hornby 040, with a certain individual who I'm going to keep hiding around the layout, so you've seen him now, but you may not see him where he pops up again in the future. Right in the middle of the layout, we've got the cinema scene that I've showed off in my most recent modelling video. Again, not really touched this since then, apart from adding a few more of my other painted franchise figures. We've now got a T-Rex and a Velociraptor that's decided to just completely disrupt proceedings. So yeah, you know, drive-in cinemas, they're all fun and games, but they can be frightening at the same time, depending on the picture. Across the road from that, partially done, and again something I'm going to focus on in the future, is my small sort of bus station area. I'm reusing one of the Bachmann Scenecraft Bluebell station waiting rooms for the bus shelter, because I don't have space for a second platform, but I may as well make use out of it. I just need to do a couple of road decals saying bus stop, no parking, etc. Fit curbstones, and just do all those final pieces, and then yeah, it's going to be ready for dropping off passengers, picking them up, and being a proper working bus stop. Right in the middle of the layout, again, largely untouched, I have the big museum building. I've done the paving under this, I've laid plastic hard sheets cut to shape, I've painted them, put in like mortar colouring and weathering, and make sure that everything measured up as expected. Again, this is something that I am looking forward to very much in terms of getting on with it, but now is not the right time, and yeah, I will focus on it wholeheartedly as and when I can. Partially done, again, but not finished. I've cut this massive section out of the main baseboard to form a excavated pit for a paleontological dig site, pairing it with the museum and my love of dinosaurs and other nerdy crap. I've got the lab done, made out of a grounded coach body, and I've embedded some recognisable fossil pieces into the plaster that I've put down so far. But to properly do it justice, I will need to take the boards apart and again just focus solely on that section for a period. I have a lot of overdue products to review, so I'm not going to take the boards apart until those have all come through. But again, this is something that I will be showing off in a dedicated series when I get round to it. And there you go, for good measure, right nearby we have a unicorn, one of those rarely seen things, being hunted down by a T-Rex. Everything is endangered by something else in reality, and here we go. Hopefully the horn comes in handy as a defence mechanism. Running right through the middle of the layout, we have the road system, which is about 50% complete. The central strip going behind the station in front of the museum, I've got most of the base layer down and road markings down. I just need to tidy up the edges and line it with the laser cut curbstones that I've laid down by the car park. That is very nearly there, but on the left hand side of the board I've still just got the main base layer down. I need to do the same again, put down the road markings, weather it up a bit, put down the curbstones, and again that should be something relatively quick and easy to finish off as and when I get round to it. Most interesting of all probably on the road system is the road crossings. These I painted on using paint pens of various colours and sizes, but the central bit actually between the rails is laser cut third radius inset sections, which made it really easy for making a curved crossing. You don't see many of those on layouts or in real life, but you would have had to have them on a layout such as this one, and thankfully I found exactly the right materials I needed to pull it off. Level crossing gates though is a completely different problem. They're all straight, so I'm going to have to finish this off as an ungated crossing. I'm going to install flashing lights, signs, that kind of thing, and just hope that everyone driving across it is sensible and heeds all those warnings, which unfortunately doesn't happen as often as it should in real life. One thing during the last heatwave I did was focus heavily on getting my building kits finished, well, the smaller ones at least. So along with the haunted house, I've put together a Dapol General Stores kit, which once I've done the interior, is going to become a sort of small bookshop. My partner wanted a bookshop on the layout, so that is what we're having. And I also built one of the Gauge Master model shop kits. Well, it was called Ford Hampton Models, but I've given it a little bit more of a personal name because Hatton's did used to be my local model shop, and it's got a really recognisable banner that I managed to recreate. So we now have our own mini Hattons on the model railway layout, which is, to me it just feels really fitting. And I've even managed to stand a little painted 3D scan of myself right outside it. Yeah, that is a little bit of my own reality sort of ending up on the layout right there, but this is all part of the fun. Right in the front left corner, again, I've not done too much to this. We have the sort of wagon/coach storage yard, which I've now packed full of detail. We've got the Swindon Works tunnel as a sort of mini backdrop with a little bit of sort of stuck-on detail inside. And I've put some corrugated steel gates and fencing leading into this area to try and close it off just a little bit. There's plenty going on here now. I've done loads of different crates and loads and things for wagons. Stepney's currently here as a little shunter with the grunt at the controls, God forbid anything bad happen, and a little velociraptor has somehow ended up on top of the cattle wagon. Those little buggers get everywhere, don't they? Well, at least in the Jurassic Park book they do. But anyway, yeah, you can tell I've got a lot of dinosaur figures and other franchise figures that have just sat in a box for a long time, and I'm really glad to finally actually get them out and have a little play with them. So I'm sure there's plenty here that you recognise. One of the sections that I've been working on the most, particularly over the last few days and weeks, is the station area. This used to be just completely blank. I've put together a platform which was sort of a hybrid of different approaches and techniques. It's got a solid wooden frame with right angle brackets to keep it square, and it's got a plasticard front with embossed brick plasticard paper forming the sort of front brickwork, and at the moment it's just got a Metcalf layer of card sort of forming the platform surface, but I'm going to cover this eventually in some emery paper to give it a little bit more texture, and that will make the lighting and realism just that little bit better. I've got the station buildings in place, which again, very recognisable. There's Sheffield Park, which is a fabulous station. I even managed to get the quite rare matching water tower. I'm not sure what I'm going to do in terms of a water delivery hose yet. I've just got a standard die-cast metal Hornby one here, and I was going to put the signal box on the platform as well, but space did not allow for the one that I've got. So I'm going to have to take that back off the platform and put it separately, which is why I've just got this small free unmodelled space here. Until I have the signal box in place, I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go and how to do the scenery around it, but I will get it eventually and get on with that. The paving plasticard is also down around the platform. I just need to finish painting and weathering that. You can see the difference though compared to where I've done it on the museum side of the road compared to the station side. The narrow gauge line as well, I kind of have a mini love-hate relationship with it. The track work is solid and done, but not as many engines can go around it as I foresaw, and I even have trouble with things like the Bachmann four-wheel coaches, which is not what I was expecting. So I'm glad I've got a narrow gauge line, but it can't do everything that I hoped it would do. Still, I do have plans to flesh it out a bit. I've got these water features here that I've still not got round to finishing. They're on the agenda. The host wagon that kept getting hit by my modern DMUs, that needs to find a new home. I had to rip that up. And I plan to do a lot of other things. The forest, the fern scenery. I want to install a slate-based fence as well, following the curvature. But again, these are all small things that I will eventually get round to. Different things are just taking priority at the moment. So that is pretty much the layout as it currently stands. It's come a long way from when I first started this channel up again. It's actually looking like a place that you can run trains now, as opposed to just four boards that are bolted together. So I'm really happy with how it's come out, and it's great to get everything out of the box. I've got a lot of little cameos. I'll point out a few more of them, just in case I haven't so far. So we have some of my 3D figures out to play as well. So we've now actually got passengers on the platforms. One of them just happens to be a Terminator from the future. If there's any kids running around the layout, I would run and hide. We also have a certain pair of Winchester brothers here from a well-acclaimed supernatural TV show. And atop the station we have a hooded, bow and arrow wielding vigilante. No idea what he's doing over here, but he is clearly out to look for someone who has failed this model railway layout. The Fat Controller, as well, is watching proceedings, even though none of his engines are even here. And right by the cinema screen, we have another cinematic icon who is probably wondering what the hell that yellow Mini was up to. Anyway, the police are on the scene, so that's none of my business. There is a second fire engine as well behind the station, and passing the low loader carrying what I presume will be a visiting engine to the railway. I've not built any capacity for that to be unloaded from that flatbed, but I'm sure I can bring in the help of the hand of God to, get that back on the rails. And we have Postman Pat as well, driving right past me. I don't seem to be reacting, so we'll just leave that as it is. And the storage sidings have a visit from a big lorry with a very interesting and recognisable livery. But yeah, this is what I really wanted to do in my layout. I just wanted it to be fun. A lot of the hobby just gets hung up on realism and accuracy and getting the period right and everything matching. But at the end of the day, this is just all meant to be for fun. You can throw on there what you like, you can make the theme what you like. You can mix whatever the hell you like. You can have a Class 66 pulling Liverpool and Manchester coaches for all I care. It's your world, have fun with it. And I think exhibitions really need a lot more of that, because there's only so many times kids are going to see a GWR 1950s layout and go, oh, it looks exactly the same to that last one I saw. Sparking imagination is a wonderful thing, and what is going to get people into the hobby and inject it with that new blood that is often longed for and yet sometimes chastised in equal measure. Yeah, just do what the hell you feel like. That's what I'm doing, and I'm loving it. So we're going to bring the S15 to a stop back inside the station, and for a little bit more fun, we're going to take Stepney out of the sidings and go around with the small freight train. There's a couple of my custom painted flatbeds here for another real life location that's very close to my heart, as well as an older rectangular tank wagon and a kit built and 3-link coupled brake van. Off it goes. So there we are. That is a very rambly, unscripted update on how the layout is looking, what I've done, what I'm going to be focusing on in the future. If you're interested in seeing how any of this progresses, or what other antics I decide to get up to in my own private world that I've brought outside of my head, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Really, this is supposed to be a fun place to be in terms of model railways, and it's only as fun as we make it. So if you're having fun, subscribe, stick around, because there will definitely be more. Anyway, that's it from me now, so I will see you all very soon in another video. But until then, everybody take care, and goodbye. I'm gonna go and run some more silly trains.